This vodcast is going to help introduce you to the tree inventory investigation. I'll go over some of the pieces of this and give you another copy of this in class, but this is just kind of give you a heads up and make sure that some of those questions you may have, you have plenty of time to think about. So just to start at the beginning, you're going to find a bunch of marked trees that I have marked down at Browns Park. So as you can see, I'm right here in the instructions. Find the marked trees. Okay, for each of those marked trees, you're going to find different pieces of data. You need to find the tree species. So we'll be using our identification keys, and a lot of these will be familiar to you from the leaf identification investigation we already did. You're also going to find the diameter, the crown spread, and the height of the tree as well. And I'll talk more in detail in a minute about how you're going to find those. All the information is going to be recorded in a half of an index card box. We'll show you what that's going to look like down below in a minute as well. But really important before we get into this too far, there's some math involved in this, and I want to make sure you show all your math computations. So even though you're punching numbers into a calculator, just make sure you're writing down those numbers that you're putting into a calculator so I can make sure you're getting your numbers the right way. Because otherwise I have no way of knowing if you've gone about it the right way or not. All right, so let's talk about the different types of calculations you're going to do here. First of all, we're going to find the diameter of the tree. So the diameter is the point from the middle of the tree out. So if we're looking at a cross-section of a tree, just draw a little cross-section right here, the diameter would be from the pith, you can get the pith there, out to the edge of the tree. Okay, that's the diameter that we're trying to find. In order to find the diameter, we're going to start with the circumference, and maybe in geometry class you talked about how you can convert circumference, which is all the way around the tree trunk, to diameter. So you're going to take a tape measure and you're going to find the circumference of the tree from 4.5 feet up off the ground. So you're going to wrap that tape measure around the tree. 4.5 feet for most people is about chest height or so, so you can kind of estimate that. And then once you have that number in inches is what we're looking for, then you can divide it by 3.14 to equal your diameter. 3.14 is your pi value. Alright, so that's how you find the diameter. The second one that I want you to figure out for me is the crown spread. And as it says here, crown spread is a measurement of how far the branches spread away from the trunk. Okay, some trees have a larger crown spread than others. They're more rounded in shape, whereas other trees are more, taller and linear in shape. So the crown spread can tell you a lot about the type of tree that you're looking at. So you're going to find two branches on either side of each other that stick out really far from each other. So I'm going to do kind of like a little sample tree here over the top of the words. Here's my tree. Okay, on this side, here's the branch that sticks out the furthest. So one person's going to stand underneath that. And on this side, here's the branch that sticks out the furthest. So one person's going to stand in front of that. And then you measure, do this in red, the distance between the two of them. Okay, so you write that down because we're going to need another number in a minute. But that distance is the first number you're going to use. Alright, so that's the widest part on that part of the tree, but of course, the tree is wide in other areas too. So you want to go on the two other sides of the tree, do the same thing. Okay, so it says right here, repeat the same procedure as before. Have two people stand in the opposite wide area that they did before, and then determine then the average of the two distances. Alright, so the average is going to be the first measurement of the widest distance plus the second measurement of the widest distance divided by 2. And that is what you record as your crown measurement. Again, remember, you need to be writing down all those calculations as you do them, all those numbers, the data, and then showing how you did the calculation as well. So that's the second piece of information you're going to find for each tree. Last but not least, you're going to find the height of each tree. And this actually takes a little bit of geometry, but I'll step you through it in class. There's going to be a special chart you're going to use for this. We're also using a special tool called a clinometer, which is basically a plastic protractor with a straw and a string attached to it. And again, I'll show you these in class and it'll make a little bit more sense, but I want to at least introduce you to this to begin with. So the first part of the clinometer you're going to use is the straw. So you're going to look through the clinometer at the straw level, and you're going to see where the top of the tree is from that viewpoint. Get my highlighter working here. Okay, there we go. So we're using the straw, and you want to find the top of the tree by looking through the straw. You know, kind of like a little telescope almost. You want the 180 mark of the protractor next to your eye. The opposite side of the protractor says 0 degrees. So you want to make sure the side that says 180 degrees is nearest your eye as you're looking up through the straw. Then there's going to be a string on there, as I said, which is going to be swinging against the protractor. You want it to stop swinging so it hangs right down. And you want to then record the number where the string crosses the protractor. All right, so that's going to be our first angle that we measure. I want to get back and erase some of this quick so it doesn't get in the way. Okay, the second piece of information then we need is this A, or the angle of elevation. So you're going to take 90 degrees subtracted from the number you read on the protractor. So maybe that your string hangs down at 120 degrees, so you take 120 degrees minus 90 for an angle A of 30. Okay? So you got to make sure that you're subtracting that 90 from there. The second part you need to find is the actual horizontal distance from the tree. So again, to give you kind of a visual, cue of what this is going to look like, this is going to be your tree over here. Here's going to be the trunk. You're going to be standing like this, looking up at the top. Okay, this is your angle of elevation, minus the 90 degrees, of course. But we also need to find this distance. How far are you from the base of the tree? And that's this AB that I was just talking about. So in order to find that, you need to have a partner measure in feet while you stand there that horizontal distance. Okay, wherever you measured that angle from, so here's the angle, you also need to measure the horizontal distance. Okay? And then finally, I'm going to give you a little table that you're going to use that angle A, right here, the angle of elevation, and then your AB, your distance from the tree, you're going to use those to convert it into actual height. Okay, and you may be seeing already, this is going to make a right triangle. So we're going to use, as I said, some geometry to figure out what this side of our triangle actually is. Okay, it's based on the Pythagorean theorem. All right, so those are the three things you need. Your diameter, your crown spread, and your height. And then, of course, your tree identification. And down here at the bottom, just to wrap this up, is an overview of what your index cards are going to look like. So this entire thing is one index card. Kind of outline this. If it lets me, I'll try that again. Sometimes when I go back and forth, it doesn't want to use the pen. There we go. So this is one whole index card here, and I've split it in half. Up at the top is our tree name. Okay, the genus and species means we're going to use the scientific name as well. So you want to identify what they are, like I said, using the book. Here's your diameter, and again, I need the circumference, and then your circumference divided by pi, showing your math. Next is the crown spread, the two widest points in the average, again showing your math. And then the height, that angle A from the protractor, subtracting the angle of elevation, or 90 degrees. The horizontal distance, or the AB, and then finally at the bottom you use your chart to figure out what the height is. And then you do the same for another tree. Okay, so for each of your trees you're going to do this half of an index card with all of this information.